So we've got juries and police departments. Are there any other obvious examples where colorblindness is worse than some kind of taking account of race?
Okay, so I think we could do examples quite a bit, but instead of doing examples, because we put two out there, I just want to make the case that having some kind of sense of racial identity is meaningful to a lot of people, and it's unclear to me why we should eradicate that. And Hughes does not, in fact, really argue against this. So I think he does make some forceful and compelling arguments against the excesses of racial progressivism, but he doesn't argue that he never forwards a good argument about why people should relinquish their racial identity if it's a source of meaning and value to them. And I actually just don't understand that, because at one point he says, in my dream world, people would be too busy pursuing things that make them happy to care about this. And it's like, okay, but what if that makes them happy? Like, what if that's an important source of identity and meaning for people, in the same way that family can be a source of meaning, or nation can be a source of meaning, and or religious identity. Catholic, I'm a Catholic, I'm a Protestant, whatever.
I
So,
mean,
yeah, go ahead.
in regard to that point, to me it does seem slightly odd for someone to 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 place a great deal of emphasis on their race per se, as opposed to, say, the category of African American or Black American. I mean, the thing you have in common with people of your race is that you share ancestors many thousands of years ago, and your ancestors all evolved in the same rough geographic area.
Hmm.
Seems like a rather odd basis for an identity, as opposed to, say, the category Black American, which is much more relevant to contemporary society, i.e., your ancestors only 2 or 3 generations ago all experienced a particular set of hardships, and then went through the civil rights era, and you all have sort of various common ways of seeing society. And I can certainly understand why such people would embrace an identity based on those sorts of things, and likewise for white Americans. But to sort of identify with all the whites worldwide seems rather odd.
Yeah, okay, so that's a fair point. And that's where, like, racial identity gets complicated, of course, because when somebody says or declares that they have some kind of white identity, I don't think they generally mean I identify with a white New Zealander. I think they basically identify with their European heritage.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what I would mean when I say it, is that personally, I have a fondness for my European ancestors and their achievements, and that does give me meaning. And now, that importantly, that doesn't mean that I have any animosity toward other groups. I think
Yeah.
they should take pride in their own achievements as well. But I guess that's what I mean by that. Not that, oh, I need to, like, look at all the white people from Australia to feel this great kinship with them.
Yeah. Um, so so people, especially in a large multiracial country like the United States, do get meaning from being part of a racial group that has a
Yes.
certain history, and that interacts with the contemporary society in a particular way. It's
Right.
slightly different from the way other groups do so.
Yeah, exactly.
And Hughes is arguing for people to abandon that identity,
That's right. I
which
mean,
you think
it's,
is a mistake.
yes, because he's essentially arguing that it's poisonous. But then what I see with a lot of these conversations is that very most people, well, almost all people, are reluctant to talk about the positive things of racial identity, right? And I mean, on the one hand, I can understand that, because of course, uh, there zero sum racial competition is something we want to avoid. Like, that can be fractious, it can divide and indeed tear a country asunder. Nevertheless, there there are many positive things about racial identity. People do get a sense of meaning from belonging. You can think of it on a smaller level. I think it's more understandable to some people who are reluctant to endorse white identity. Like